Welcome back to the Max Reality. If you've seen my face before, then you know the drill, but if you're new here, I love talking all things reality TV, and if that sounds like something that interests you, maybe, check out this video, check out some others, subscribe to the channel. Today, we're here to talk about one of my favorite shows from this year so far, Deal or No Deal Island. If you somehow completely missed this show, that's okay. That's what I'm here for today. We'll talk a little bit about what the show is, the structure. Then from there, I'm going to be talking about different cast members, favorite moments, and then we'll end with my final thoughts. In the beginning, when I'm talking about the structure, I'm going to try to keep it as vague and completely spoiler free. So that way, if you would like to maybe go check it out after you've seen this video, you can stop it there. But then you have to promise me to save this video, go watch it, and come back and tell me what you think. That's the little deal we have to make, okay? That's the deal. Now that we're all on the same page, let's begin. Deal or No Deal Island aired this year on NBC on February 26th, 2024, and it was a spin-off of the classic game Deal or No Deal. The show is hosted by Joe Manganiello, who you may recognize from movies such as Spider-Man or Magic Mike. I just found out that he was married to Sofia Vergara. They just recently finalized a divorce. Well, I would have never known that. So what I really know about this man now is he fumbled the bag. I mean, he got the Deal or No Deal bag, but in the original game of Deal or No Deal, you had contestants picking different cases and ultimately trying to leave with the most money, but their main opponent to getting the main money was the banker. This show takes 13 contestants to the banker's private island where they're going to compete in different challenges until they get to the final game of Deal or No Deal, where they will find out if they truly are the banker's ultimate opponent. If that sounds a little confusing and vague to you, don't worry, because I'm going to describe it better than any of the advertisements for this show did. Honestly, I went in so blind. The way I just described it to you was pretty much all the ads. The other big thing that was hit home in the ads a bunch was the fact that it was possible that somebody could walk away with $200 million. That was the huge selling point of the show, a note to keep for later. So to start off with, technically all 13 opponents are playing for themselves. They want to be the last person standing who gets to play the final game of Deal or No Deal. But at the same time, they're all having to work together because they're creating the final briefcase. This is an amount that will be the highest number on the Deal or No Deal board for that final game of Deal or No Deal. So every week while they're playing these different challenges, they are trying to earn money to go into the pot to increase the final prize. And that is how they get to somebody could win $200 million. So they kind of got us with the ads. I mean, they never said explicitly somebody will. They very much made it, clear that it was possible that they could win up to. But still. Now for the game structure itself. Every week they have some form of challenge where the goal is to obtain briefcases that will end up making up the right side of the board. And if you don't remember, the right side of the board on Deal or No Deal is all the high value cases. That's where $1 million is, $500,000. All those are over there. So they're wanting to get the briefcases with the highest numbers, obviously, to help build the pot. During the challenges, there's always winners and losers. The people who are at the top or person ends up getting immunity and the decision of who faces the banker. Now, who they get to choose from is whoever is in the bottom of that week. So they usually have 2 people to choose from, and they have to send someone to face the banker. And this is where Deal or No Deal comes into play. We're 3 minutes, 2 minutes into this video. We're just now getting. This is where the classic Deal or No Deal happens. So whoever is selected to face the banker has to play a classic game of Deal or No Deal, but with a twist. That was one of the exact lines I said at one point, and me and my partner have been making fun of it since it happened because they're like, it's just a classic game of Deal or No Deal. But except it's completely different. But I mean, the main structures are there. There's briefcases. I mean, to start off, in this game, we're generally playing with 12 cases, sometimes 20, which is smaller. And then as for the numbers on the board, the left side, smaller side, is always a penny to just $750,000. Yeah, it's your girl editing, Morgan, here. I 100% meant $750, not $750,000. That would make everything else I said very different. The left side of the board in Deal or No Deal Island is exactly the same as the original game, with the penny to $750. While the right side is always like crazy high, like $300,000 to like 3 million. So the disparity in the board is really entertaining. Number one, it is not just like an kind of more even flow like it is in the normal game of Deal or No Deal. There's some jumps, but the ones on here are so funny, especially to think of a penny versus sometimes $3.5 million. Incredible. And this is our part that's pretty normal. The person picks a case. The amount of cases they have to pick in the beginning is usually astronomical. With the 12 cases, they'll have them pick 6 in the first round sometime. So while it is technically the same structure, pretty wild to eliminate half the cases just immediately off the bat. And after the first round of cases has been open, as always, it'll be time for the banker to make an offer. Now, this is where the game starts to become different, because you see, since it's not really Deal or No Deal, and they're not playing for the money, they're just playing to add money to the final case, you're not trying to get like a certain number to keep yourself safe. How this game works to decide if you're eliminated or not is whether or not you make a good or bad deal. How you make a good deal with the banker is you sell him your case for more than it's worth. So say the banker calls, you've opened your cases, he offers you $400,000, you have the penny in your case, you say, deal, I'll take it. Open it up, good deal, you're safe. However, if he calls you up and you have, $1 million and you sell it for $400,000, bad deal, you're going home. But if you've made that good deal, you are the one who gets to pick who ends up being eliminated, and you don't even have to just pick whoever else was in the bottom with you. You can pick anyone as long as they don't have immunity. And as for the amount of money that goes in the pot, it's whatever deal you made. It's just kind of like what you would win on Deal or No Deal. So it's whatever you sell your case for, or if you keep your case all the way to the end, it's whatever was in that case. That is what gets slowly added every week to build up that final case, which again is going to be the very bottom most amount of money in the Deal or No Deal board for the final game of Deal or No Deal. I hope all that was clear so far, because we're not quite done with the structure. So I wouldn't technically consider this a spoiler, but it really wasn't explicitly explained until we got there, which is how we were going to determine who played that final game of Deal or No Deal. So I'm going to tell you, because I wanted to know the whole time. So pretty much, we get down to a number of people. I'm not even going to tell you what the number is. And then it gets to the point where they just do challenges. And after the challenges, whoever comes out the winner from all that is the one who gets to play that final game of Deal or No Deal. I was sitting there the whole time. I assumed that was pretty much what it was going to be, but I didn't. I wanted them to clearly explain it since it's a new show. And there was that was a theme with this show, honestly. We'll talk about it more in final thoughts. I think we'll save it for then. And this is the true part that is literally just Deal or No Deal, because the person just plays Deal or No Deal. They can take the banker's offer at any time, and whatever they end up winning through the normal game of Deal or No Deal is the prize at the end. And that is the full overview of just the structure and gameplay of Deal or No Deal Island. Next up, we will be talking about cast, favorite moments, episodes, things like that. So this is your official warning that this is where you're supposed to stop if you don't want any spoilers. But don't forget our promise. We pinky promised. So first up, we're just going to do a quick rundown of the cast. First up, one of our two more notable cast members is Rob, aka Boston Rob, who you might recognize from his multitude of seasons on Survivor. One of my favorite parts of this whole show with Rob was when they first get there and they see where they're going to be staying. his just shock of like, oh my God, there's beds. They're gonna feed us? It's like so funny. Just such survivor mode. He was ready. He was like, I'm gonna build a tent. I don't know, I'm ready. And our other player of note is Claudia Jordan. You may recognize her from shows like The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Celebrity Apprentice, or maybe even a little show called Deal or No Deal. Yes, my friends, Claudia Jordan was a case girl. She was, in fact, case girl number 1. And this makes up a big point of people being like, oh, well, she's gonna do well because she knows the game in and out because she's on the inside, which, again, is so funny to have that mindset over a game that is chance and basic statistics. As for the rest of the players, we will be going in no particular order, except it is the order that they were put in on Entertainment Weekly. That is the only thing dictating this order. First up, we have Dawson. He is 25 from Wisconsin. Then we have Aaron, 26 from Illinois. Jordan, 29 from Tennessee. Nick, 29 from New York. Miranda, 30 from Florida. Alyssa, 26 from Missouri. Kim, 63 from Arizona. Amy, 42 from Oklahoma. Dr. Stephanie Michelle, 41 from Alabama. Jamil, 47 from Texas. And last up, we have Branson, who is 31 from California. Now we're going to talk about a little bit from each episode, the different things that were funny, people getting eliminated, best moments, all that good stuff. For episode 1, the minute they get there, they immediately get a challenge, which is all these different briefcases have been stuck in this pit of mud. The highest value case is $1 million, and they have to wade through this mud to get a briefcase, hoping to get the $1 million, but ultimately just not wanting to bring back the 2 lowest value cases because those people will be in the bottom. The winner, who does bring back either the million or the highest value case, does get immunity. But this is episode 1, so really the goal is just to stay in the middle. Of course, though, it wouldn't be a fun little game show if there wasn't a twist. In this case, there are 2 red briefcases, one of which has the lowest value amount, meaning you would immediately be in the bottom, and the other one has a steal, in which case, when y'all get up to the podium, you can choose to steal someone's case. You don't get to know how much is in it unless you ask. Hint, hint. But you get the opportunity to steal, and that person who you have given the steal case to immediately goes to the bottom. So with it being the very first challenge, everybody really just wants to survive, and I feel it, that would be me, and nobody ends up going for these red cases, which, as Joe says, makes the banker very upset. So he decides to make a personal offer. Now, this is something that continues to show up in the game. A personal offer is an amount of money the banker will give you for doing whatever, and that money doesn't go into the final case amount. It just goes directly to you. You get to take it home, no matter if you win or lose, just whenever you get eliminated, that money is yours. He decides to make a personal offer of $10,000 to anybody who will go back in for one of the red cases. Now, before this, when they were all wading through the mud, Kim, who is our older contestant, was having issues getting through the mud. It was like impossible for her, to the point that Rob, Dawson, some of the bigger guys got in and physically helped her get out of the mud to finish this challenge. And do you know who was the first to raise their hand to take that personal offer to go back in the mud? Yeah, it was Kim. So that obviously has already upset everybody quite a bit, but our character Branson decides to make it worse by deciding, for a reason that I still don't completely truly understand to this day, to go in and help her. Now, at first it didn't feel like it was completely altruistic, because before he went in, he asked Joe if like the offer was open to multiple people, but then he ended up only helping Kim get one of the red cases and he didn't bring back the other. So why was he doing this? For who? For what? But he goes back in, he helps Kim get the red case, and she ends up getting the steal case. So now everybody's mad at both Kim and Branson. So we're starting off on the right foot right from the get-go. And Kim decides just to throw a Hail Mary to be like, okay, whoever has the million, just tell me, I'll switch with you, And even though you'll be in the bottom, I promise you won't have to go to the banker. I'll just send the other person. And surprising to me, it worked. Dawson had the $1 million and just immediately was like, okay, I'll do it. So obviously, people are peeved with Kim, but they're also side-eyeing Branson. Number one, because he did that, and nobody really understands why. He keeps just being like, I just wanted to see a nice lady win $10,000. It's like, sir, you don't know her. Y'all just got here. What on earth are you saying right now? And this is the first moment I get to talk about one of my favorite things from this entire season, which is Boston Rob and his friendship partnership with Aaron. They meet in the Jeeps on the way to the very first challenge, to where they all like meet up, first episode, blah, blah, blah. And they form a little alliance that Rob sticks with till the end. They actually form a friendship that's beautiful. We'll get into it as we go through the different episodes, but this is the very beginning seed of it. So because of how things played out, Aaron is the one who has to face the banker. He's the one who had the lowest value case, aside from Dawson with the steel case, and Kim actually lives up to her word. Again, thank God for Dawson, because he had no reason to believe she would. Doesn't know this lady. Anyway, Aaron ends up getting put up to face the banker, but before he actually has to go up, Rob starts trying to get in with him, starts to talk about their game plan and their strategy, and ultimately, they had two strategies, and Aaron ends up picking the one that Rob kind of didn't want him to go with, but it doesn't matter. They still form a beautiful bond and friendship that, again, we'll continue to talk about. And I assume you can guess this, but Aaron ends up making a good deal, so he gets to pick who gets eliminated, and he goes with Branson. So Branson has this whole giant episode of just like being the focus and is immediately gone. Just poof. Episode 2 didn't have a whole lot to write home about. The best part about it is they have to work in pairs, and Boston Rob and Aaron decide to pair up together. And there's two sides to the challenge. In one portion of it, somebody is having to scale a tree and get arrows out of a tree and bring them back for the other person to shoot. Now, when you look at Boston Rob and you look at Aaron, who would you send in that partnership to scale a tree? I'll give you a moment to think about it. Yes, we picked Boston Rob, right? No. Rob is like, Aaron, you should do the tree. You got it, buddy. I believe in you. And it's like, I don't. What are you talking about? So with the game, again, one person is climbing the tree. They don't have to get all of the arrows, but the more arrows they get, the more opportunities their partner has to shoot the different arrows. The person shooting is shooting at different cases. And once again, like with all these games, the goal is to get the case with the highest value. Then you and your partner will be safe from elimination, and you get to pick who out of the bottom team ends up having to face the banker. And despite Aaron being the very last person to bring arrows and only bringing 3 to Rob, they win the challenge. And it is such a good moment. We top that with Kim is in a partnership with Alyssa, who just crushes it, gets all 10 arrows, gives Kim every possibility to hit a good case, and she physically cannot. And that's the only reason Rob won. They were both shooting arrows at the end. Rob just waited for Kim to finish shooting, and then he went up, did his very last arrow, and bada bing. It was such a good moment. So good to watch. And very clearly, the choice for who everybody is wanting to send home because of what happened in the first episode is Kim. So Rob and Aaron decide to make the choice to send Kim to the banker, but unfortunately this does not work, and she lives another day and sends home poor Jamil, who we just really don't learn about much. I'm sorry to that man. We did not see him a lot. That's the first and last we're gonna hear from him. She sent him home because she felt like he was sneaky. I have really no memory of why. Kim always had her reasonings for things that I never 100% understood, so this was just another one of them. We then move into episode 3, where everybody is pretty fed up with Kim and would like Kim to go, because while this is a competition where only one person will be there at the end, at the moment, they are having to work as a team, and everybody kind of feels like Kim's attitude and also her ability to do challenges is overall hindering the team. So they kind of come to the decision altogether to do whatever they have to do to put her in the bottom and send her to face the banker. Now, Alyssa is one of the main people who ends up spreading the gospel, if we will, kind of going to everybody making this plan. But everybody was on board. I mean, also, you're going to agree with that sort of thing when it's that early on and it's not you being targeted. But that's the right choice for something like this. The person who doesn't make the right choice, though, is Stephanie in this episode. So when she's being talked about with the plan, she makes it seem like she's going to go along with it. But in her little interview moments and everything, she starts talking about how she doesn't want to be like manipulated into following any plan, and she wants all of her decisions to be her own. She wants to play her own game, which I hear what she's saying, but I would, if I could, love to go back in time and remind her that we are on episode 3. It's not the time to be making weird moves like that. But anyway, it's too late now to tell her that. The main strategy that they've come up with is that if there is the opportunity to have a steal case, if anybody gets that case, they are supposed to trade with Kim, meaning she would immediately be sent to the bottom because she would have the lowest case since it's a steal case. That's the goal. That's the plan. They get to the challenge. There is a steal case. We're all thinking, great. We're on board. Somebody's going to try to hit it. We got this. We got this team. Stephanie is one of our last people to end up going in this challenge. It's a challenge where they're kind of swinging from this height and having to throw a beanbag onto different tiles that kind of look like a hopscotch board. And wherever the beanbag lands is the case they get. Stephanie is one of our last people to go and ends up landing on the steel case. Everybody's excited. We thought this might not happen. We were running out of opportunities. Yay, Stephanie is gonna do it for us. Instead, Stephanie comes down and is like, well, Rob has the million, and that's the case that will make sure I'm safe from the banker. So I think that's the one I want to take. And everybody erupts. And this whole section of everybody arguing and fighting goes on for an amount of time that's just incredible. It was an incredible amount of time to dedicate to this. Honestly, probably could have been shortened if we're being super real. Now, something to note is at this current moment, Kim is already in the bottom. She is the lowest case at the moment. But if Stephanie were to steal Rob's case, and Rob and Kim are in the bottom, Rob is the very, very bottom. There are still a couple people who have to go, and they theoretically could get a case lower than Kim's, bumping her just barely out of the bottom two. So that's why everybody feels like it's very imperative for Stephanie to steal her case. But Stephanie is like, I don't want to steal the lowest value case because then I might have to face the banker. And everybody's like, why are you not we're all telling you. You will not have to face the banker. There's a plan. We talked about the plan. We're sending Kim up. You're just guaranteeing it for us. But Stephanie just keeps going. It's like, I have to protect myself. I need the immunity, blah, 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 blah. And for some reason that I still don't completely understand, feel like it's the wrong decision, was not the decision I would have made, Claudia Jordan steps up and decides to sacrifice herself because she doesn't want Rob to maybe face the bottom because she knows he has a very big target on his back because he's won so many seasons of Survivor and everything. Claudia's case is in the middle. She's like, Stephanie, all you care about is being safe. Take my case in the middle. It'll be fine. Technically, that wouldn't make her completely safe because that doesn't give her immunity. So whoever faces the banker could eliminate her. But safe enough. Safer than being at the bottom case, at least. And what everybody was worried about happening ends up happening. Aaron accidentally ends up hitting a lower case value than Kim, bumping her up to safety, meaning the two options for people to face the banker are Claudia and Aaron. But Claudia has already announced while she was, throwing herself on the sword for Rob that she would face the banker. So that's what ends up happening. Claudia's like, I'm ready to face him after all these years, blah, 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 blah. And unfortunately, though, she does not succeed. She makes a bad deal and goes home. very, very unfortunate set of events. I very much wanted to see her playing for longer. It was so sad for her to go home episode 3, but that's what happens. That's how it goes. Then we move into episode 4. One of the main points of note for me is that Rob and Aaron's pact of loyalty gets tested a little bit. In the challenge, they get split up into 2 teams, and Aaron and Rob are on 2 different teams. Essentially, how the game works is each round, somebody from each team will get on a jet ski, and the 2 people race each other to this platform that has sets of cases, and whoever gets back first with their set of case is the sets of cases they are going to play the game with. In this game, one case has a higher amount and the other case has a lower amount. The person who got back with the cases gets to decide whether they want to be the bluffer or the guesser, meaning if they're the bluffer, they get to see the 2 amounts, and the person who is the guesser has to guess either the left or the right, which has the most amount of money in it. And the person guessing can, ask questions, try to see if they can figure out which is the higher number case, and that's how the game works. Aaron and Rob end up being the last duo to do this, and Rob's kind of like, hey, everybody has a target on my back. It'd be really cool, if we could work this out where you help our team win, and I, will make sure through my powers of being Rob that you're not the one sent up for the banker. This plan ends up not coming to fruition, though. Rob ends up being the guesser with Aaron as the bluffer, and Rob ends up picking the lower amount case, and their team does not win. And Rob and other contestants too throughout the season have this logic of like, well, if I'm even in the bottom, I just want to be the one to play the banker, because if I'm going to go home, I want it to be because I was trying, which that logic just does not track to me. Because again, as I was saying earlier in the structure, just because you're in the bottom, like if you don't play the banker, you may not go home. You may not be who gets picked. I do get where Rob is kind of coming from, where he feels like he has a big target on his back, and that's why he wants to play the banker, because he feels like that person would eliminate him. But some of the other people who have this thought process, it's like, why do you think, So he uses all his Rob powers charm to convince Amy, who was the head of the winning team, to let him face the banker. He gets to face the banker, and luckily for this show, he wins, because honestly, the rest of the show would not have been as great without him. I personally think, in my opinion, I'm sure other people have other opinions, but I had so much fun watching Rob. And Rob gets to finally do what everybody had been wanting to do, which is send Kim home. Thank goodness, because I was so tired of watching her personally. And the episode ends with a fun little twist, where Joe asks the contestants who they feel in their group is the most trustworthy. And everybody unanimously is like Aaron. Aaron is like the puppy of the group. Everybody loves Aaron, all of that. And Joe's like, okay, all of you get to go back to camp, except for Aaron. We're keeping him. We then start episode 5 with everybody waking up the next morning, and Aaron's not at camp. Nobody knows where Aaron is. Everybody's slightly concerned because of the way this game works. They're like, is Aaron dead? Are we ever going to see him again? Did he disappear into thin air? What is going on? And they go to do their challenge with still no information on where Aaron is, and Joe will not give them any. He instead explains to them that how the challenge works is there's a bunch of different briefcases that are all numbered in different parts of the jungle that they have to retrieve. Then they take their case to an area where a key is. The key will tell you which number cases have what value in them. Okay, pretty normal game. Don't really get what the, how it's really going to work. Seems kind of easy. Seems like they could go back and forth looking for cases. But there's the twist. It's not just some letter board that they can read and find the numbers. No. Aaron is there, sitting on a throne, encased with little wires or chain link all around him, and he is holding the key, and only he can see it. So everybody has to just tell Aaron what number case they have, and hope he tells them the right answer. Now, what the other contestants don't know is that 2 of the different cases out there don't have any value at all. They're actually key cases, and Aaron needs to make sure that 2 different people bring back these key cases in order for him not to have to face the banker, and if he does this, he will actually win immunity. So very black and white, either facing the banker or immunity. So high stakes for poor Aaron, who all he did was be trustworthy. He's just trying to be a good guy, and this is what he gets. Now, just like with the steel cases, these 2 people who have the key cases don't have any value to their case, meaning they are the 2 lowest cases and will automatically be sent to the bottom. So it's a very layered challenge. Honestly, episode 5, this challenge was probably one of my favorites. It probably was honestly, I would say it's my favorite episode because of everything that happens. And you know, how this works is they'll bring him the case, they'll tell him the number, and either he'll be like, yes, keep that case, it's a good value, this is the value it is. Or he'll be like, no, you should go trade case 12 for, say, case 1. That's how the game's going. And so his decision, his strategy in his mind is to just lie. He thinks it'd be easier than trying to explain the key thing to everybody. And who he thinks the easiest people to convince to do this for him, to go back into the jungle and take these cases just on his word, are number 1, Alyssa, because she is his closest ally aside from Rob. Rob, Alyssa, and Aaron kind of have a little thing going on. And the second person he picks is Miranda. And I don't think any of this was necessarily explicitly said, but it's very clear that he thinks that Miranda, if she ended up making a bad deal, wouldn't pick Alyssa or Rob, and obviously can't pick Aaron because he has immunity. But he'd also be fine if she goes against the banker and stays. It's kind of like either scenario, good. Doesn't say that, but I mean, that's what's implied with all this. Aaron is successful in getting Miranda and Alyssa to get the key cases, so he wins the challenge, wins immunity, and as you can imagine, Alyssa and Miranda are not super happy about it. However, after the challenge, he's very quickly and easily pretty much able to smooth it over with Alyssa. He explains what was going on in the challenge and his thought process, and she accepts this. With Miranda, she sees exactly what I saw. She knows what Aaron is saying, and she is not happy about it. So she decides to play it off, though. She goes to Aaron even and is like, you know, who would you want to see eliminated if I do win against the banker? Like, what do you think? And all this stuff. Meanwhile, I could see it in her eyes. I knew she was a woman after my own heart. She's plotting and planning. And if it wasn't clear, Aaron picks Miranda to go face the banker. During Miranda's game of Deal or No Deal, we get to the point where the banker is sweating. He offers her over $900,000, along with, if she takes the offer, he will give her one of the famous personal offers of $40,000 to take home. And Miranda does what I would do, which is take the personal offer. We're only in episode 5. $40,000 guaranteed is better than the hopes and dreams of playing that final game. This is why they would never cast me to be on one of these shows, because I'd be like, $40,000? For realsies? And I get to go home? And I'm not sleeping outside anymore? Awesome. Yes? I guess that was a little spoiler alert, because technically, she could have gotten that personal offer and stayed if she had made a good deal. Unfortunately, her case was worth more than the $900,000 that was offered, so she will be immediately going home and taking her $40,000 with her, but she is not going down without a vengeance. So remember how I was saying earlier that Miranda went to Aaron being like, who do you want to send home? And I'll do that for you. Yeah, like I said, she was just gathering intel. She is like, says her goodbyes, and she goes, you know, I was really hurt about what Aaron did, and I just want everybody to know, if I had made a good deal, I was going to send Alyssa home. I know she's your ally, and that's what I was going to do. Oh, and by the way, the person that Aaron wanted me to send home was Stephanie. Okay, bye. And I loved her for it. I was hooting and hollering. I was like, yes, that is exactly what I would have done. She played it perfectly, in my personal opinion. Then we get into episode 6, which I personally don't really have a lot of big highlights from, except for the fact that this episode's challenge involved live snakes that were actively biting the contestants during it. They weren't poisonous, obviously. Like, it was snakes. Snakes were biting them. I would have been out. I would, like, if I were Miranda watching the show back, I'd be like, oh, thank God that's when I got out, because Lord, no. So a quick summary of the game. They're put into different pairs. They don't get to pick the pairs. And out in the water, there are these big beam structures that have cases and dynamite hanging from them. You need to light the dynamite to make the case fall. Seems kind of easy, except you're saying, okay, well, how do I light the dynamite in the air? How you do that is where the snakes come in. On land, there are boxes that have different pieces of a pole kind of locked down and snakes slithering on top of it. So you have to sit there with your hands in the box trying to unlock them while the snakes are biting you. You want as many pieces as possible of the pole because obviously the higher value cases have sticks of dynamite that are higher up. So that is how that game worked. It was honestly so hard to watch. I don't know what I would have done. I feel like I would have given up because that sounds horrible. Snakes? Snakes biting me? No! And the fun little twist for this game is one of the cases is labeled Banker's Bonus. We do not get to know what that is. So just keep that in your mind for now. At the end of the challenge, the winning team ends up being Rob and Stephanie, which is great television because they have been feuding this entire time, especially just from the moment that Stephanie had the whole issue with not just going with the plan. Rob does not like Stephanie. Stephanie does not like Rob, but they partner up and they win because Rob dominates like the majority of these challenges. And unfortunately for Aaron, he ends up with Amy, and neither of them are super great at challenges like this, and they end up in the bottom, but they have the banker's bonus. Kind of part of how they ended up in the bottom, because the banker's bonus, like all these other special cases, isn't a value, so it didn't really help with their total value, because as with most of the games, the people who ended up with the total highest value were the winners, bottom were the losers, so they kind of chose to do that. But also, who are we kidding? They were probably going to end up in the bottom, even if they didn't go for the banker's bonus. Another great moment of this episode is we have Amy, Stephanie, Rob, and Aaron meet up, since it's the winners and the losers, to talk about who they're going to send up to go against the banker. And we get to see just great gameplay from Rob. To be fair, though, he's kind of cheating because he's playing against people who have never played a game like this. So it's just... It's honestly like watching a pro basketball player playing a bunch of like college athletes, but that's actually not even a good example because at least college athletes have some time practicing. Like watching a pro basketball player play like a junior league basketball team that's just trying their best. That's sometimes what watching this show is like. I don't care. I still stand by it was very fun to cast Rob, even if he's just leaps and bounds above these other people. Sorry for the side tangent. I knew that would end up happening. Anyway, Rob and Aaron pull some very basic Psych 101 reverse psychology on Amy to get her to the point where she's like, no, put me in. I want to play. I want to play. And Rob's like, oh, well, if you want to play so bad, I guess we'll let you play, which is Rob's plan all along, and it's just so funny. So, it is time for Amy to go up and face the banker. She plays the game of Deal or No Deal down to the end, but before they open up her case to see if her case is worth more than that final offer was, it's time to finally open up the banker's bonus. And the banker's bonus is that nobody's getting eliminated tonight. That's all it was. I mean, it's a big thing, but it's just so funny that we went through all the motions and then it was like, nope. But Joe has her open up her case anyway, and she would have made a good deal, so she would have gotten to stay and eliminate somebody, but nobody's going home tonight, and we move on to episode 7. Then we're into episode 7. Again, not a really big one to note. The challenge was they paired them off in the pairings not of their own choosing, randomized colors, and they had to go out and retrieve these giant trunks that were in water that had cases. They got to look at the value of the cases. As always, they want to be the team with the total highest value of case. After looking at it, they could make the decision to go back in the water and get a different case. However, if they did that, just like with most of these games, they have to stick with that case. They don't get to go back to their old one or go back out. So no risk, no reward, if you know what I'm saying. Now, the big twist for this game is that one of the briefcases out there not only has a value amount, but has a key. And if you get that one, you can either choose to just keep the value amount, or you can take the key and open a big golden safe that has a $5 million briefcase, which is going to be the highest amount of value that somebody can add. But there is a risk that you won't know until you find the chest that has the key inside of it. Amy and Stephanie, who are in a pair, the worst pairing that could be, my least two favorite people watching this entire show, that's beside the point. They end up getting the one with the key, and they read that the risk to it is that if they accept the $5 million one, they are immediately in the bottom. Now, something you have to realize with this game is it becomes very clear early on for a lot of people that the strategy is you either need to be the top or the bottom. You either want to go against the banker, control your fate, or you want to win immunity. This becomes an overarching theme. So when they see that they would just be in the bottom, they end up being okay with it. They're both willing to go up against the banker and control their fate, and they want to get that $5 million to have for the opportunity to play for it, to put it in the final case. So that's what they end up doing, and they are in our bottom. And unfortunately, for me personally, Stephanie goes up to play the banker and makes a good deal, meaning she gets to eliminate someone, and she immediately wants to attack the little trio that is Rob, Alyssa, and Aaron, and goes for Alyssa, which completely makes Aaron have a breakdown. Alyssa was like his main, they were like BFFs, and this causes a huge breakdown to the point that you kind of think Aaron might just be quitting the show at the end of the episode. We then go on to episode 8, and Rob is able to soothe Aaron, tell him, like, we're gonna get this, buddy, like, we're a team, we got this, and Aaron continues on, and we go to our next challenge, which is personally one of the funnier ones to me. So they get there, and there's all these different little pedestals that have case amounts on them, and attached to each pedestal is a rope that goes deep into the swamp and into the jungle. All you have to do is grab the rope and follow it to the case. Seems easy, right? No, because number one, the cases aren't labeled. So when you get to a case, you gotta pray that you were holding on to the same and right rope the entire time. And then B, that you even are able to find a case, that the ropes don't get so confusing for you that you just get lost. I personally do not know. I have had a lot of experience with cables, and detaching them and, reroute. So maybe I would have some luck, but with the added pressure of all the water and the other people looking for cases, I do not think I would do well. This was a very funny challenge to watch everybody struggling with all the ropes. In this challenge, we get a fun little twist where we have a bottom 3. Dawson and Amy bring us the lowest case values back, and poor Aaron is so distraught about Alyssa still, he just doesn't even bring back a case. He just gets lost in all the ropes. He can't figure out where he's going. He's in the water. It's so sad to watch. It's terrible. It's so sad. Our winner of the challenge is Nick, so that means he gets to pick between the bottom 3 who he wants to send home. And something I haven't talked about, I can't remember if it's this episode or the one before it where it happens, but people who are not Rob and Aaron have formed a little alliance. It's Amy, Stephanie, Nick, and Dawson, and they call themselves the Night Owls because they like to stay up late talking. I hated the name. I hated the weird little alliance. It was fine. Whatever. And through this alliance, Dawson comes to Nick and is like, hey man, I think the best choice is for me to go against the banker. I want to make big moves. I want to, take this in my own hands. That same idea that I've been talking about throughout the whole thing. He has that same mentality. And he's like, and I'm going to send home Aaron. Something that I think is continually funny with this show that I really haven't talked about, I kind of thought I might wait till the end, but I don't think I physically can anymore, is from the beginning, it's very clear to everybody in that first episode that they should send home Rob, that Rob is going to be their toughest competition no matter what. But because of Aaron deciding he wanted to make a partnership with him, and honestly, if we're going to be really real just about how gameplay works, probably not making the best decision, ends up keeping Rob to be his partner when they should have sent him home first episode. And a lot of people say that, yet at every opportunity, they don't send him home. Like Dawson, for example, in this talk is like, I'm going to send home Aaron. Before that with Miranda, she's like, I'm going to send home Alyssa. I think that one was less about the actual gameplay of Aaron and more her just wanting to hurt him as much as possible. And she knew Alyssa would hurt his feelings overall more than Aaron. But still, I just think it's funny that from the beginning, they all know Rob is going to be the biggest threat and very much struggle at every point to get him out, even when the opportunity is actually there for it to happen. Nick agrees with Dawson, sends him up to play the banker. Dawson is playing, and he gets down to the point where there are 3 cases aside from his, and the banker makes him an offer of around $1.3 million. Now, with this offer, there are 2 cases that are higher, meaning if it's one of those, it's going to be a bad deal, and there's one that's lower. On top of all of this, the banker has sweetened the deal with another one of his little personal offers of $100,000. And while the odds aren't in his favor that this will end up being a technically good deal and he may go home, he does exactly the same thing I would have done once again and takes the personal offer, which unfortunately does end up sending him home. He ends up making a bad deal, but he's going home with $100,000, so who really lost here? We then go on to episode 9, where we had a challenge that I do not think I would be able to complete. If we're gonna be really honest, I'm just being real with y'all. We have another team challenge, but they do get to pick their teammate. One person is going to be the navigator, and the other person will actually be going out to look for cases. Now, how it works is the person who's going out there is in a little Jeep. The navigator and the other person have little walkie-talkies that they're talking to each other on, and the navigator stands in the main central location where Joe, our host, is, and is reading from a map to help guide the person to the location where the cases are. They can also see what the value is of each case and where it is. So there's location number 1 that they have to send the person to, which is all on land, and all the different cases are covered in piles of rocks. So you have to be like, okay, try to find the 3rd pile. That's the case you're looking for. That's pretty much how that works. Then you have to send the person to the 2nd location, which is in the water. In this case, there's different podiums, similar to that other challenge, and ropes that lead out to the cases in the water. Luckily, these ones aren't all tied up and everything. They're just, out there. They just have to go get them. And you have to be like, okay, so if you look in the middle, the 2nd case to your left is the one you want to get. That's pretty much how the challenge works. And as always, the goal is to come back with the 2 highest value cases. So your total overall is the highest value. So you win immunity. The people who have the lowest dollar amount will be eligible to have to face the banker. But as always, there's a little twist. And in this case, the classic red cases from the beginning are back. One of which is a steel case and the other which is the lowest amount possible case. They have one of the red cases in the land location and one in the water, and each team can only take one of the red cases. So out of the 2 cases they bring back, only one can be red. And so as I was kind of saying earlier, everybody's mentality is either the top or the bottom. That's all anybody wants to be, and especially in this case scenario, since there's only 6 people, only 3 teams, you really don't want to be in that middle spot. You'd kind of rather be in one or the other, and Rob at this point just loves trying to go for that bottom. He wants to be the one to play the banker for a reason that I don't 100% understand. I don't know why you wouldn't just try to get immunity. That is something I would love to ask Rob one day, like understand what that full thought process was. But nonetheless, that's him and Aaron's game plan, is to make sure they're in the bottom. Unfortunately, his plans are foiled due to Aaron's walkie-talkie. Rob goes out there and then all of a sudden cannot hear from Aaron. Aaron cannot hear him. They cannot figure out what's going on. And by the end of it, what I assumed had happened, which was somehow Aaron had changed the channel the walkie-talkie was on, and I guess never thought to try messing with that again to try to get in touch with Rob. So Rob has to go out there and pick cases blindly. When Rob gets back with their randomly selected cases, he tells Aaron about where each of them were, and Aaron tells him what values should be inside of each of them, and Rob feels very confident that they are going to be on the bottom. He thinks it's all going to be good, but Aaron got confused on the map about which case was which, and they ended up being in the worst spot, the middle. It was almost to the point where I'm sure other people and even me was kind of like, are we sure Aaron's not actually just an op against Rob and is playing a crazy high level game? The answer is no. The answer is no. He just did not remember with the map, didn't figure it out, didn't understand the left and right thing, didn't understand the walkie-talkie. Just incredible, this series of unfortunate events that happened. This puts our remaining 3 night owls in kind of a sticky situation. They have added the only other person left, Jordan, to their little pack, kinda. I mean, it's kind of also just like, well, you're here still, so, and you're not with Aaron and Rob, so might as well be with us. And they're in a sticky situation because they are both the top people and the bottom people. Amy and Jordan are our winners, and Nick and Stephanie are the losers. And after conferring, they decide Nick will be the one to go up and face the banker. And the feud between Rob and Stephanie that's been going on throughout this entire series really hits a head here, because Stephanie has been putting in Nick's mind that Rob has been saying that he specifically wants to target Nick and send him home, which is a complete lie. Rob hasn't been saying that. Obviously, Stephanie is who he wants to send home. It is clear to everyone, or it should be, how much he does not like her and wants to send her home. But this ends up causing some unrest when it's time to play the banker, because Nick, while playing, kind of points out that he wants to send Rob home because Rob was targeting Nick. And Rob was like, I never said I was targeting you, Nick. I don't know what you're talking about. And Stephanie's like, yes, you did. You said that. Which starts Rob and Stephanie just going at each other, because Stephanie is always saying that Rob is a game player and a snake and immoral and all that. And Rob's like, that's what you're doing right now. Like, and that's what you should be doing, because it's a game. It's a game. But that's the big, I guess I really probably haven't talked about this enough. That's the main issue for some reason that I never quite understood, is Stephanie feels like Rob is like sneaky and deceptive and a game player, and that makes him morally bad. Like, it's not just like a game thing for her. She feels like he's a bad person because of playing a game. And that was also why I was on Rob's side, because it's a game. It's a game. Anyway, there's a big explosion, and Nick, poor Nick, is just standing up there like, I don't know what to do. I don't know whether Stephanie's lying. I don't know whether Rob's lying. And I'm still trying to just play a game of Deal or No Deal, because again, he's in the middle of Deal or No Deal when this happens. Unfortunately, though, none of that ends up mattering for Nick, because he makes a bad deal and he ends up going home. We are down to our final 5 at the beginning of episode 10, and this is where everybody just starts to completely fall apart. Things become a mess, as you assumed they would. You know, it's time for people to start turning on their partnerships, and overall, it's so messy to watch. Like many of the challenges in this game, there's a lot of different layers of things going on, so I'm gonna try my best to explain it as clearly as possible, especially because with this game, it got kind of explained as we were going. How this one works is each of them individually are going to get on a jet ski and go over to a clearing where they're presented with all these different cases. Each case has the value on it, and then below it are little metal marbles. The trick is the high value cases have lower amounts of marbles, and the low value cases have more marbles. You use the marbles to cast your vote for who should face the banker. With this elimination, what they're going to do is whoever has the most marbles at the end is the one facing the banker, and nobody gets immunity. There is not going to be a winner of this challenge. And then, on top of all of this going on, they have a bonus case. There's this giant countdown timer that is going on as each person goes to the clearing and back. and the amount of money drops I don't know exactly what the interval is. So the longer you're taking to make your decisions, the lower that bonus case that y'all are getting is going to be. A lot of things going on at once. And one more little bonus, the highest value case that only has one marble also has a personal offer of $75,000. So you get less power, but you get $75,000. So, and once again, since there's no immunity, Rob is in the mentality of, I want to be in the bottom, I want to face the banker. However, because of the nature of the challenge, he doesn't get any time to discuss his game plan with his buddy Aaron. So Rob's decision is to take the lowest value case and cast all the votes for Aaron, and then hope that Aaron takes that second lowest value case and casts all his vote for Rob, and Rob just assumes that other cast members will also vote for him, and that's how all of this will end up working out. That's Rob's goal, but again, he can't talk to Aaron, so this is all just hoping for the best. And like with most of Rob's plans, they are foiled by Aaron, who has started to get cold feet about his partnership with Rob because of Amy and everybody else being like, he's just gonna throw you under the bus, which, I mean, he probably would, but as Aaron says in the beginning episode, when he makes a deal with Rob, he realizes he's kind of making the deal with the devil. So he made his bed, he needs to lie in it. But instead, he gets all flustered and just kind of decides that he knows what Rob wants him to do and doesn't do it, which obviously upsets Rob. Rob sees right through it immediately. Aaron tries being like, oh, well, I didn't get that case because I wanted to get more money for the group and all that. And Rob's like, you're lying. Like, why are we lying at this stage? And after the dust has all settled, it turns out that Aaron got the most votes and he will be headed to face the banker. And honestly, he's made it pretty clear, not to Rob, but in his interviews and kind of talking with some other people, that if he's safe, he's going to send home his only alliance, which I get it. Listen. I get it. You want to eliminate Rob. He's the best player. But you should have done that when you had the opportunity episode 1. At this point, it is too late. His thinking is one of the people he wants to be in the final with is Amy, because he feels like that's kind of an even match for him when it comes to actual physical challenges versus somebody like Rob, where he would never be able to really beat Rob physically. But there's no loyalty to these people. And while it turns out that ends up not being really a lot of loyalty that needs to be had after the last 2 episodes, he doesn't know what those final challenges are going to be. So he's just kind of like, well, I'm just going to hope for the best and vote out Rob, my only alliance and friend that I have left. And ridiculous, incredible. It made me so upset. However, Aaron does not get that opportunity as he ends up making a bad deal with the banker and gets eliminated. We are down to our final 4, and this is the point in the show that I was talking about toward the beginning of the video when I was going over the structure, where we are just going down to challenges until we get our winner, who will get to do the final game of Deal or No Deal. And of course, this first challenge is going to be just as complicated as all the other ones were, if not extra complicated and hard to explain, but I'm going to do my very best. So to start off, the challenge is set in a maze, and to begin, they need to retrieve a map by answering the question, how many total cases have been retrieved and put on the board at Temple during the Deal or No Deal games. But it's not just like they go over to this little podium and there's numbers they can grab to put in the correct number to answer the question to get the map. All the numbers are like bolted into this podium and they're having to sit there and unscrew any number that they want to try to guess with. It's so funny, so hilarious. Once they have the answer right and it all bolted into place, the map will be revealed. Once they have the map, they will see that there are 2 different locations that have locked cases. One area has low value cases and is easier to get to and closer to the end of the maze, and the other has high value cases, but it is a lot harder to get to and farther away. Now, to unlock these cases, they have to start this journey off by running to a location that has keys, and they grab either a high value key or a low value key. But to get the key, they have to turn in their map in exchange for a key. meaning they just need to hope and pray they remember the map to get to either the low or high value area in this maze. Fantastic. So since we're at the end, obviously, whoever has the highest case isn't winning immunity. Instead, we're in a penalizing area of the game where whoever comes out of the maze last is actually going to be the first one eliminated. Then whoever out of the 3 that are remaining has the lowest value case will also be eliminated, leaving us with our final 2. And this, my friends, is the beginning of the end for Rob. During the explanation of the game, Joe tells everybody that nobody can look at each other's little table where they're supposed to be putting in the number for the answer of how many cases have been retrieved. And I don't know what was going through Rob's mind. Rob was not listening when the directions were being told. You could tell while you're watching him. He's just like in outer space. And he decides that it's okay to check somebody else who ended up getting it and running off. Because of this, he gets penalized and has to be the last person to go in the maze. So at this point, you're just like, okay, so Rob's out. Like, this isn't gonna happen. On top of that, he gets a time penalty of 3 minutes. Once the final person has the puzzle and goes in, he has to wait 3 minutes before he can enter the maze. So at this point, you're just like, okay, Rob's done. That's gonna be the end of Rob. Shockingly for me, Amy is the first person to get in the maze and is in there for a good while before anybody else goes in. But not shocking to me, she does nothing with this time advantage. Jordan and Stephanie get in the maze pretty quickly after that and immediately just start making up ground because Amy just keeps getting lost. She doesn't know where she's going, even with the map. And then eventually Rob is in there and also starts catching up to Amy to the point that Stephanie and Jordan are our first 2 people out of the maze, and it is down to Amy and Rob seemingly fighting neck and neck to get out of the maze. And that is where they end episode 11. Heartbreaking for me. I was not ready to be left on a cliffhanger like that because, as y'all can all tell, I'm a huge Rob fan in this show, and not knowing whether or not I was really going to care about the finale was killing me. Fortunately for you, though, this already happened, so you have to wait no time to find out what happened in episode 12, which is Amy crosses the finish line, meaning Rob is our first eliminated in this grouping of eliminations. So then I personally am sitting there like, well, if Jordan ends up getting eliminated, I don't think I even want to watch the rest of this because I did not like Amy and Stephanie. They were like 2 of my least favorite people to watch, right on up there with Kim. They just both, Amy got on my nerves because every minute of every episode, she was just flip-flopping with people. She was just trying to get anybody to be in an alliance with her, just to the detriment of like any gameplay, if that makes sense. Like, she couldn't even just stick to one plan, and so nobody believed her at any point, and she was just messy gameplay. I don't like seeing it. And then Stephanie got on my nerves with her whole like moral superiority complex when you're playing a game like this. Like, it's a game show. Fortunately for me though, Stephanie ends up having the lowest value case, so she is our second one sent home in this excursion, leaving us with our final 2 of Amy and Jordan. We then get to our final challenge, which you would assume is going to be the most complex one for me to explain. But honestly, it's one of the easier ones, thank goodness, because that last one I had to record multiple times trying to get the order all together and explaining it clearly. Anyway, for our final challenge, we have a tightrope and little hanging ropes going that lead to a case in the middle. Jordan and Amy will be on either side, and they just have to make their way across the tightrope, and whoever gets to that case in the middle first is going to be the winner who plays the final game of Deal or No Deal. And at this point, I'm like, thank goodness. Amy never does any of these physical challenges well. Jordan is going to be our winner, and I like her, so I am happy. But because the editors, need a job and need this to be more fun, they definitely leave you there for a minute thinking Amy might actually pull through. At one point, Amy makes the realization, though, that she's not going to be able to get this challenge done because she keeps falling off the rope and having to start over. So instead of actually trying and like doing a challenge, she just sits there and tries to shake Jordan off, which it's like, girl, even if you get Jordan off, I still think she can. I don't think you'll win. I don't think you'll win. And it honestly, I was happy to see her do that and then ultimately end up losing that way because Jordan was not phased. I mean, she was a little, but she made it. She got the case. And I was happy to see Amy lose that way because it felt very just like the culmination of the entire way she played the game. Just ridiculous thought processes, messy to watch. Hated it, but it's fine because Jordan gets to play that final game of Deal or No Deal, and I was happy with that, and that's what really matters at the end of the day, right? Is if I'm happy with the outcome. We get to the final temple to play the final game of Deal or No Deal, and a big thing that I haven't been talking about because I hated this part of the show is they have this whole like, who is the banker? Who is the banker being played up? And at this final temple, it is revealed that the banker all along was Howie Mandel. And instead of having him calling in to do the offers via the phone like they do in the show, he sits in a little throne and kind of does them live. And they play the game of Deal or No Deal. Also a great touch that I was hoping they would do and they did is they had the whole cast come back to watch her play the final game. I was hoping it wasn't just going to be like her and whoever the banker was, because we didn't know at that point. I was like, that's going to be so awkward to watch. Jordan plays Deal or No Deal, and she gets down to the point where she gets an offer on her case for $1,230,000, which she ends up accepting. And as always, we still need to know if she made a good deal or a bad deal. She opens her case to reveal it only had $1,000 in it. So definitely a great deal for Jordan. And that, my friends, is a full and total recap of all 12 episodes of Deal or No Deal Island. And now we get into my personal favorite part of these videos, my opinion and final thoughts. So the first little final thought I have is just something so silly. I didn't bring it up at all, but during each challenge, you know how a lot of those places will have like water for the contestants to drink after? Instead, they had tea and they talked about it multiple episodes during multiple challenges, like, oh, love the tea and blah, blah, blah. And I feel like some joke happened to make them bring it up so much, some inside joke between the cast and Joe, the host, that we don't know. And I'm dying to know what the joke was that brought about. Why is the tea brought up so much? Tell me, is it just a reference to like tea? I feel like there's more. I feel like it's more than just that surface level, and I would love to know. So if anybody sees this who knows, please tell me. The next thing I want to talk about is the prize, because like I said earlier, we need to put a pin in how much they truly, one of the big points in the ads that I saw especially, were talking about the fact that somebody could win up to $200 million. So for the winner to go home with $1.2 million about is not nothing. I'm not saying it's nothing. It's more than a normal game of Deal or No Deal, because the most you could get in that is $1 million. But to hype up that 200 million number for so long and then that be the final result, I think that could be something that should be addressed in a board meeting with somebody. I don't know if that should be something that marketing should fix or what, but it kind of was a letdown. Again, it's not like if somebody handed me $1.2 million, I'd be over the moon. I would be on here making videos every single day. I would be doing nothing else. I would just be hanging out, so happy. But in the context of everything else, it's kind of a letdown from the ads. I'm just saying. On the same route as the money, obviously, like with all these shows, everybody had different things that they wanted the money for, and most everybody's story just felt so uniquely like sad and American. So many people with like loan debt or a sick parent or anything like that, where it's just like, oh, we failed as a country where you need to go on a game show hoping you can win millions of dollars to care for your dying father. Like, honestly, that was very upsetting, and there's not really anything we can do to fix that as a game show. That's something we have to fix as a society. But just one of those fun things with reality TV that'll just mark moments, because that's just so clearly American in this time period. Incredible little time capsule that we'll have one day. I promise there were things I liked. As I said in the beginning, this is one of my favorite shows. I can't wait for season 2. But since we're on the theme of like things I didn't really like, I already said this, but them playing up who's the banker the whole time and having to be like, well, I know the banker's game and blah, blah, blah. It just went on too long. The bit was too much, especially the who's the banker. I don't know. That part made me so annoyed. I was very happy to have Howie back. I was hoping they were going to bring him back either as the banker or in some capacity. So I was glad to have him back, but I hated that the whole buildup was that. Like, whatever. Things I really did like, watching Aaron and Rob's relationship through the episodes, honestly, so good. It warmed my heart every second of every day. I loved watching the way they interacted, the way they partnered up, until Aaron broke my heart at the end. This also makes me wish that they had done some sort of reunion, because I would love to hear Rob's thoughts about this. I'm sure maybe he's done some interviews and stuff. Maybe I should have looked more into that. Anyway, there's only so much I can do. I'm just one little guy doing this. Anyway, but watching just the way they played together, very fun, very interesting, and heartwarming. Like, their actual friendship that they ended up making, I hope it wasn't broken by anything that happened at the end of this. I wouldn't think it'd be with somebody like Rob, because Rob gets it. He gets the game, whatever. But I hope that they actually do have a friendship that continues on, because it was cute. I loved it. Another point I really liked were the games. I had a lot of fun with them. While they were very complicated and annoying to try to explain, and sometimes even when watching the episode, they'd explain them and I'd be like, I don't understand exactly what's going to happen. It was fun. It's fun to see really complicated big games like that. Watching this, because of the games and because of Rob, made me want to get back into watching Survivor. I haven't watched it in forever, and this made me be like, yeah, I need to get back into that. And in that same note, I thought the casting was really good. I loved having Claudia Jordan on, even though we did not get her as long as I would have liked. And then having Boston Rob on too made the show really interesting. I definitely feel like it helped pull people in, versus if it had just been completely just straight randos, for lack of a better word. So I thought that was fun. I'm usually kind of against mixing reality TV people and regular people for games like this, but I don't know, I'm making an exception for this one because I liked it. And kind of my final point and opinion I want to talk about is our winner, Jordan. I feel like something you will notice is maybe you feel like you did not hear her name a lot in the episodes, and that was for good reason. That was her strategy. Around episode 3, she's in an interview and she says the exact thing I would say, which is, I'm just trying to stay in the middle until we get to the end where I can really start duking it out. At this point, I am just trying to stay below the radar and not be anybody's target. And that strategy worked. And that's the best strategy, in my personal opinion, for things like this, if you can play it. Like, that's never something Rob was going to be able to play because of who he is, but as a rando like that going in, that is the perfect strategy. So I was so happy to see her win. Also, she was great in a lot of the physical challenges, similar to Rob. She did great in multiple of them, and I was very happy with her as our winner. I was going to be so pissed if it was Amy or Stephanie. I was happy for Jordan. I was unhappy with her slightly when she started kind of joining the Night Owls, but to be fair to her, she never really got super committed, it seemed. She was always kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, just kind of for the game strategy. So we're going to let it slide. Jordan's big reasoning for why she was playing and what she wanted the money for was she wanted to be able to start her family through an IVF journey and all of that. And we actually get a little update at the end of the final episode, and we find out that Jordan is pregnant, and they seem very happy and thriving. So I am so happy for her, and I'm glad that this show was able to give her what she wanted for her and her family. And that, my friends, is the conclusion of this video of my recap, my talking about the structure and my personal opinions on the very first season of Deal or No Deal Island. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. I have no idea how long this video is going to end up being. I did not plan to talk about it as much as I did, so it'll be interesting to me once I start editing this to see how long it is. But if you're still here, I assumed you liked the video, so don't forget to like it below. And if you like this sort of content, subscribe to the channel. I understand if maybe go check out some other videos first. There'll be some at the end recommended for you. See if you like the feel and want to join us over here. As always, I want to hear all your thoughts, feelings, opinions, comments down below. Did you watch this show? Did you like the outcome? Did you hate it? Are you planning to watch it? Did you like this style of video? I would definitely especially like to know any feedback about this video because I kind of put it all together loosey-goosey. So I'd love any feedback about that. And until then, I'll see y'all in the next one.